The Sandy and Toddcast is a Mind Garden Media podcast in association with
Screw You, Todd
Productions. Ready to go?
Sunday Funday.
Oh my gosh.
Good morning. Good morning, Vicky.
It feels like it's been forever since we saw each other, and we just saw each other on Thursday night.
I know. Isn't it weird? Isn't it weird?
I'm so tired.
I know you are, but you had a really productive, great day yesterday.
Hey, Joe.
Oh my gosh.
Can I tell a real quick story about Joe?
Of course.
So Joe and I worked together when I was working in grocery. And we worked together at Pick and Save. And she has come to a couple of the live events that I've been at, and she's always been very supportive. Hi, Betsy. So I just wanted to say good morning to her. Betsy, of course, a big follower here of the Sandy Podcast.
Good morning, Dawn. Thank you guys for joining us so quickly. That's awesome. This is going to be an amazing hour. I'm so excited. I
want to preface this because what you're going to hear is you're going to hear a story about somebody who found himself doing some paranormal investigating. Mm-hmm. And somebody that I had investigated with in the past, and how quickly that can turn very badly. And so when people talk about like going out and investigating and what they find and how exciting it is and walking into black mists and how safe that was, just to remember that it really can be an unsafe situation. And so I've not actually heard this whole story. There are bits and pieces of it that I know from my perspective, but I've never actually heard it from David Williams' perspective. And we're going to get that today, which I'm really excited about.
Yes, I am so excited about this. And a big thank you to David for joining us today, because this is going to be a perspective that not many people understand or know about. You know, when you are a paranormal investigator, when you go into the ghost hunting realm, you are taking risks. It's not fun and games, and it's exciting, and it's thought-provoking, and it's intriguing and enlightening, but it's also you're taking risks. So this is going to be a story for everyone to listen to and pay attention to.
Absolutely.
Yes. Now, we do have some really good news. Today, season 2 of our audiocast drops. Yay!
Oh, I'm so excited to hear that. It's so wonderful.
Yay!
Yes.
Yay! So that's coming out this afternoon. You can find it on any of your podcast platforms. A copy of it will be on our Sandy and Toddcast page, so you can check it out there. Good morning, Renee. Thanks for joining us. Happy Sunday Funday to you. So that drops today. Very excited. This is going to be a great season for us, Todd, because we've kind of taken it to the next level. I was telling you yesterday when I was producing our episode this week, it just sounds so amazing, and it's just great. I can't wait for everybody to hear it. And be sure to check it out and leave us reviews. That's one of the best ways that we can spread the word about us, is by leaving us great reviews. Notice I said great reviews.
Yeah, because if you do the other thing, even if you feel that way, it really hurts. It hurts, I say.
Hurts right here. Hurts right here. And one other thing, I sent this to you. I have to mention it to everybody. You can add a Sandy and Toddcast frame to your profile picture on Facebook. I'm so proud of myself. I figured out how to do that.
So just because I didn't do it, and I'm like, I don't know if I want to do it, blah,
of course
blah,
you
blah.
do. Duh.
I'm going to go ahead and do it right now as we're on here. So you go there.
Yep.
And
all you have to do is search the Sandy and Toddcast, and it'll be made by me, Sandy Jean, and you can add it to your profile picture. And I'm so excited, and I would love it if everybody could do that, even if it's temporary, even if you do it for a week. I think it would be a lot of fun. I was so proud of myself. I'm not technically advanced in any way.
And here's the thing, not at all. I'm actually on a podcast today with somebody, David, who is like a technical genius when it comes to audio and all that kind of stuff. And then I'm on with Sandy.
I know, it's like the extremes. It's like two ends of the spectrum.
She can't even figure out the 2 cups in a string thing. Okay, that's how
You had to. I was so happy.
Hello, are you there? I can't hear you.
You made me a video on how to use a recorder on the thing without even asking. You just made the video.
Because I know if I say you do this, this, and this, it's just not going to happen. But if I go, okay, this is what you do, and I'm videoing the screen, and then I send it, it might actually happen.
It works. It works well. Good morning, Rose. I love you. I hope you guys are doing well. Yes, I suck at that. I'm sorry. I do. It's just me. So lots of fun stuff going on. Happy Sunday fun day to everybody. And thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Now on Tuesday, typically it's a Tarot Tuesday. This Tuesday will not be a Tarot Tuesday. It's not going away, but we also have the ability to tell twisted stories. And so Tuesday is a Twisted Tuesday. We have got the story of a family in Texas who reached out because they were having some things happen to them.
Yeah.
And I actually have the audio of the phone call of the interview that I did with the gentleman who has approved us to air it, and also some pictures from his home of what he was experiencing. So you are going to analyze that with us on Tuesday night. I'll give my perspective. Sandy will have her perspective. We want to hear your perspective. Tuesday night on the Twisted Tuesday, 8 o'clock Eastern, 7 o'clock Central. That will be good too.
Yeah, that's going to be really good. And because I know, good morning, Tammy. I know that everybody loves the paranormal stuff, and we do a lot of it. So we want to continue to bring you guys some really cool paranormal stuff and get you involved too, because a lot of times when you're immersed in this kind of stuff like Todd and I are, you may not see a different perspective that somebody else might see. So we always encourage interaction, opinions, thoughts. You can head on over to our Facebook group, Stay Weirdos, Friends of the Sandy and Toddcast. Join that up. We have about 100 members right now. We're going 100 members strong, and that's really cool. We're going to do giveaways and fun stuff in the group, too. It's a safe haven for everybody to go judgment-free and hang out and air any opinion, any thought that you want without judgment. And I love that.
But you get extra points if you use GIFs as your
yes.
Your,
oh my gosh.
okay?
If you use GIFs, we had a mini conversation with GIFs last night before you passed out. So
did we? I don't even remember that.
Yeah, it was like a short one. It was just a short one.
So since we don't have a Tarot Tuesday, because we have a Twisted Tuesday, we have a Woo Woo Wednesday. And that will be our good friend Sudie Crouch will be joining us to pull some oracle cards and all that kind of metaphysic kind of stuff.
Yes, that's going to be really cool. So don't forget, that's Wednesday night, Woo Woo Wednesday. And going forward, we're still kind of deciding whether we're going to be able to do a Thirsty Thursday this week, just because we have so much.
Double.
We have so much on our plate this week. We're also recording a podcast on Tuesday night after Twisted Towns.
Don't let me forget about that.
I won't. The Paranormal Burrito, just based on the name alone, we had to do this. So that's going to be great. So we're still up in the air about Thirsty Thursday, but we'll let you know for sure whether we're going to be doing it this week. But we have so much going on. So just be sure to check our page and our group to see what events are coming up in the week. We're going to keep it fluid. We might move things around a little bit, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, but it'll be great. We've got so much. We can't fit it all in. I think that's a good problem to have.
So you were talking about the paranormal burrito. So you go on Twitter and you promote that you're a paranormal cast, and everybody starts following you. And one of the followers was the paranormal burrito, and they were looking for guests. And I said, listen, if we're going to guest host anywhere or be guests on a show, we got to do the paranormal burrito. We have no idea what we're in for.
We don't.
We're recording that Tuesday night. And
I've listened to about 10-15 minutes of a couple of episodes, and it's going to be really interesting. So we'll keep you updated on when that's going to air. Give him some likes and follows too.
And I probably look tired today because it's just an exasperating weekend. But I also just got done right before we did the Sunday Funday. I did not a live, I guess they recorded it, but I did something for Instagram called William in the Magic Box. And I will tell you, first of all, it was great in that the questions were awesome.
Yeah.
But I didn't know what to expect. I've seen a couple, but you don't know what to expect till you're in it. And first of all, I looked like hell. And second of all, I had a dance during it. So white guy with a beard dancing to a song that sounded a little bit like Britney Spears.
I can't stop laughing. I don't know if I can make it through the hour. It's great.
I hope he has me back again because I had a lot of fun. We actually talked very deeply about mini conversations. So
we actually didn't know what to expect with this. And you said, well, you know what? It's a great way to check things out. We want to find out about other podcasters, other videocasters, and this is a great way to do it and get the word out about the Sandy and Toddcast. So I'm really glad you did it, and I can't wait to see it. Do you have any idea when it airs?
No, I'll find out, though, and I'll make sure and not tell you. So let me just, okay, here's the thing. So this week, you know how like on Facebook, they give you your memories 20 years ago, you know, and it's you and you're sitting in a diaper and that's ridiculous because you're 21 years old.
Right.
But at any rate, there's all these little memories that pop up. This week, ironically, we had determined that David was going to be on the show with us today. And then this week in my memories, some photos popped up and they were from the I think it was, well, maybe not the first, but maybe the second investigation we did, but one of the very first ones that we did together for a TV show that we were a part of. I think this was part of the movie franchise at the time, but I've got the pictures. You want to see these?
I can't wait.
They're not great, you know, because back then I think you didn't take pictures with your phone back then. You actually had to carry an actual camera.
Right.
But so there's David, and he's interviewing one of the people that was experiencing some paranormal stuff at the location that we were investigating. Cool. Yep. And then let me see. I've got another picture here. He was a pole dancer in a previous life, so he was practicing there. But here's the thing about his pole dancing. Very thick poles. That was his specialty. and then here's another one. This is him with all of his audio gear. This guy is an audio technical geek, the kind of person you want when you're doing investigations. And I remember thinking about it because it was like the first or second time I met him. Like, this guy is so cool. Like, I always wanted to be David Williams when I grew up, and all I could do is kind of work on the beard part of it. So,
and how many years ago was that?
That was 2012. So I don't want to do the math. I think that's what it was.
It was. Oh my gosh,
9 years.
9
right?
years
is that
ago.
what it is?
Yep.
Yeah. So, ladies and gentlemen, joining us on the program to talk about his paranormal story is David Williams. There he is. Look at him, right?
Hi, David.
Pole dancing.
And thick poles as well.
Thick pole dancing. I mean, there's a total difference. You really have to be you have to be eloquent to do the thick pole dancing.
It's hard to do with a 5'6" frame.
And that's why you were so good at it too.
Right,
and people really thought, man, this guy's got it going on. How you doing today?
I'm doing good. I noticed that you didn't show any of your own pictures in those.
Yeah,
well,
he did.
But here's the problem. How do you take your own picture back then? There were no selfies.
Yeah, that's true. I guess.
You know, I think there was one of me in front of a mirror, and I was like, I'm not going to use that.
I'll find some old pictures of Todd, and we'll put them up.
Well, it was just fun to see some baby face kids trying to make this work.
Right?
That was our first investigation.
Unreal. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It really was. And actually, we had a ton of cool stuff happen. Like the first time that I remember getting some real like bang evidence at an investigation. So
that was a really good one. It was a great way to start out that series of misadventures.
Exactly. This is exactly right. So David and I go back to about 2012, and we started working together on a project for someone else, and we were investigating and locations and stuff like that. So we didn't see each other all the time, and we haven't actually talked in a long time. Occasionally a phone call or a message and stuff like that, but you stay connected with those people because you're experiencing something that you've never really experienced in life, you know? Right. And so those times are kind of special, and you hang on to those moments.
Yeah, and you kind of become family. You know, a couple of us were pretty close. You know, I talked to a couple of the other people pretty frequently. You know, and you celebrate their wins in their life when they happen. So absolutely. So we wanted you on today because you've had experience in investigating. And you've had a specific experience that didn't turn out very well. And I really felt like that story, it was time for that story to be told because I don't even know the whole story. And I'm not sure if you've ever told anyone the whole story. And so I wanted to give you an opportunity to tell
what happened and really use it as a teaching tool for people who are out there with their K2 meters and their recording devices and their, whatever the hell they've got out there. This is some real stuff you're dealing with.
Yes, it is. This will be a very cautionary tale because it as long as you know me, I'm a pretty even-keeled person. I don't get rattled too easily. We're kind of in the same mindset as far as how paranormal works. I come at things as a realist, try to find a simple solution to whatever is going on and try to debunk whatever is happening.
Right.
And it helps that I have some construction background and stuff like that to kind of know how old buildings work and what the creaks and quirks are.
Right. What gets you interested in paranormal? I know there's a story there.
Really, there's not. You start watching the shows on TV and it's like, man, that'd be fun to do. And then I saw this posting they were looking for help, and I shot a message over and said, hey, I am pretty good with audio and doing that kind of stuff. If you need help, let me know. And one thing led to another, and we're there.
So you were essentially going into this with no previous paranormal experiences?
No, I wasn't even planning on doing the paranormal end of it. I was just trying to be a background person, be an audio tech or a cameraman or something like that. Nothing in front of the camera, but it ended up that I ended up in front of the camera. Well,
here's the thing: when you're behind the scenes and you're pole dancing, we realize that the camera is for you.
Yes,
so you did it to yourself.
I do. The another side of me comes out when the camera is on. Yes.
For some reason, I thought I remembered some story that connected you with either a father or a grandfather or something like that. I don't remember.
So there is a part of that. So my dad passed away in 2008. He died suddenly in his sleep of a heart attack, and I never really got a chance to give a proper goodbye. Last conversation we had, and actually this is good because this will also tie into this story and how you should come into an investigation, like what your mindset should be. So, and this could get a little bit emotional, so bear with me.
Yep. Sure. Yep.
So he passed away in 2008. The last conversation I had with him, I lied to him about finishing school.
Oh.
So I never got to reconcile that. And now this is public. I know some of my family knows this, but this is public now. So, so that landed me with some trauma. The whole death experience is a trauma. You don't think you would lose a parent in your mid 20s.
Right.
Right.
It was a whole hard deal. And it definitely flipped everything on its head. And then a year later, I guess I'm giving you a little bit more background than you need, but I'm going to, because this all plays into what I'm going to tell you about this tale. A year later, my mom had a major stroke in which she can't drive. Her speech is impaired. She has some physical ailments and that kind of stuff. So I ended up having to be a caregiver for her on the weekends because I was working during the week. I would drive at the time I was living in Oshkosh, down to Kenosha, where I grew up and where she was living, on the weekends, and caregive, and then drive back and then work 410s and then come back. And I did that for about 6 months, and then it started doing less and less because we were getting more help into the house. And she ended up moving in with a cousin of mine in Madison, so that was a whole different deal. But at that time, the other thing was going on. This is also pre this investigation. I had a major alcohol problem, and ended that in 2010, and so that's been helpful to not have that on my back anymore.
Yes.
Also during that time, I had 2 suicidal ideation episodes where one landed me in the hospital. My wife at the time saved me that night. So always appreciative of that. She's always been my rock. Anyway, all right, getting up to this. So before that whole summer, because that was summer, July, when we did that investigation, a good 6 months or so before that, I had been working on trauma therapy, brain spotting. If you know what brain spotting is, it's a very intensive trauma care type stuff, and it leaves you. And basically, what you're doing is you're trying to peel the onion and get to the core of some of your trauma work.
Right.
But it leaves you pretty open.
It basically knocks those walls down a little bit. And you don't have that protection.
Right. You're breaking barriers as you go.
Yes.
And so your mind is a lot more open and more susceptible to some things.
Right.
And I didn't tell any of you guys that because it was very raw at the time, and I just didn't want that out in the open.
Right.
Because, you know, when at that time when I was out and about with you guys, I would put on a pretty good facade of everything's cool.
Absolutely, I had no idea.
Yeah, but nobody did except for certain people in my life that needed to know these things. And so that night we went in. We're getting all set up and everything, and it's first session in was just a complete cluster. It was just it was a mess.
Yeah, you know, I'll preface this by saying, so we were working on a project for someone else, and our jobs basically were to go in and investigate and see what happened. Pretty much. I mean, we would do some analysis and stuff like that of some of the audio and video and stuff like that. This location, which we're not going to tell you exactly the location, was a venue, however, where you would go see maybe movies or theater productions or music, live music, stuff like that. So it was a venue for entertainment, and that's the type of place that we were investigating for this. Yeah,
it was a pretty infamous venue.
Yeah,
pretty infamous. A lot of people know this venue, and yes, we're not going to mention it because that was the original reason why this story didn't come out in the first place, because the venue did not want us to tell this. That was the main reason. One of many reasons, but that was the main reason that was told to me.
Right.
So the first session was just a cluster, and I took it upon myself to take the lead and say, let's regroup, let's refocus. I want to go on stage with Todd, and
we did this great performance. They brought out the poles.
Oh yeah, the polka. Polka music and the whole nine.
We both play drums, so we did a little solo action there.
Yeah, it was great.
We went and investigated together.
So it was. So we set up this thing, and we were talking before. This was one of the only times that you and I actually did an investigation or a session together, solo. And to lay out the setup, because I think that's important too. On each side of the stage, I put a digital recorder, and then we sat in the middle in chairs, and then I believe we had a spirit box in front of us. And then we had, I can't remember who was actually in the camera, but we had somebody off stage on a camera.
Mm-hmm. I think it was Angela, and I think I had one other camera pointed out someplace.
Sure. Too. Yeah, you were kind of scanning the upper balcony.
Yeah,
I believe was what you were doing. So we're going through the session. That feels like a normal session. You know, we're getting some creaks and maybe a little bit of shadow movement, and some things are popping up on the spirit box and yada yada. Felt really good though. Felt strong. I felt like we did a nice job of laying out. You know, you and I don't come at it with any sort of malintent. You know, we're always pretty even keel. I always thought of it as doing it like if I was a reporter for a newspaper and wanted somebody to tell their story, that was how I approached these particular sessions, just because it's a, you know,
definitely with respect and understanding. Right.
Yeah.
Well, of course. I mean, that's the beautiful thing about this, you know, and obviously a lesson in life is be respectful, no matter what you're doing in life, either paranormal investigating or meeting somebody on the street. You know, just be respectful, and I think that goes a long way on a lot of levels for a lot of things that would fix what's going on in the world today.
You're right.
Agree. Agree.
Coming back. So we're going through this session. I make a couple of comments of, at the time, the other thing that was going on physically, I was recently, before this particular investigation, I had recently been diagnosed with fibromyalgia and chronic pain syndrome and chronic fatigue syndrome. So
something else I didn't know about.
Yes. I'm a very private person.
I guess so. I didn't realize that.
Yeah. So I had some physical ailments going on. And at the time I'm a musician in life. I've been playing music since I was 11. I still play off and on now. I actually just recently joined a band again, so I'm trying to get back out on the road.
That's great.
It's been a lot of work, but we're there. So I make the comments of, because of this venue, it's a bigger venue. I had played a couple of bigger venues, but nothing of the prestige of this place. And I make the comment as I wish I could have played a venue like this before I had to hang it up. Was basically the gist of what I said. And I wish I had the audio clips here because they're stored on a drive. If we had a little bit more timing, I would have sent them to you just so you had them. But so we get through the session, and then the next session goes up. I start immediately going through audio because audio nerd, obviously. So I sit down at a table. I always brought a collapsible table, and I set my laptop and audio gear on.
He had everything. I mean, you saw that picture of all the doohickeys and the wires and stuff. I mean, the guy is just a genius when it comes to audio.
I was just doing my job and doing what I knew. That was just what it was. And that night it was a pretty pared down setup, just because we weren't doing the wireless mic setup. We were just doing just normal audio from whatever cameras and things like that. It was a pretty small rig, but I didn't bring much. I just brought like an interface that I could plug my headphones into and get my recorders dumped onto my laptop. And I ran a program, Logic, if you know what Logic is. That's what I use for all my recording projects.
It's kind of like the two tin cans, Sandy, just so you understand.
Okay,
it's very similar to that.
Yeah,
totally get it now.
If you want to nerd out, this is I'm giving you the equipment I'm using. So I started listening through this stuff, and I have on there the 2 recorders, and so they're panned to each side, so I know what's left, what's right. And so I'm listening through this stuff, and all of a sudden there's just stuff just keeps popping up. A lot of just chatter behind the scenes. And at the time I didn't really get a good view of it, just because I was immersed in it. I was like, yeah, we're getting stuff, this is exciting.
Right.
I'm getting blurps here and blurps there, and I'm showing Todd. It's like, dude, look at this. Can you hear this? What do you hear? This is what I hear, and I'm writing this stuff down, and I'm just like, oh, this is great.
So he's letting me listen, okay? And I'll be honest, I don't have the best ears for a lot of reasons, and a lot of it is, wearing headphones for work and all that kind of stuff. And so he'd say, what do you hear here? And I'd go, nothing. I don't hear anything. And then he'd go, well, listen for this right here. And I would hear it because I was listening for it. Now, we may not necessarily know exactly what it said, but a couple of them, we were pretty sure we knew what was being said.
Yes. And some of them were pretty graphic.
Yes, they were.
So I don't know how graphic I can get here, but it gets pretty graphic.
Yeah, I think people can pretty much sense what it probably was saying to us.
Yeah.
I do remember the one that went like, do you want to die?
So
because it reminded me of like a rock song.
Right. So we'll come back to that particular one later.
Okay.
Because that one is an important clip, because there's more to that I found later.
Great. And I'm just finding out about this now, Sandy.
Yeah. Well, it's not directed at you. It was directed at me.
Of course.
Yes. So, which also plays into the rest of this this particular investigation. So we're doing other investigations. We're going around the building. We're doing this other stuff. The second to last the second to last session we're doing, I'm up in the balcony with 2 people, and we're doing this thing, and I start just getting tired. Like, I can feel energy starting to drain out of me, and I'm just getting tired. It's like, man, and it was late. It was like 1 o'clock in the morning or whatever it was. I don't remember the timing, because again, once I hit this particular time period, I don't know what's going on.
I remember you coming down and just being like totally drained out.
Yeah, I was tired. Something took something out of me.
But you were really tired, but were you still thinking
I was
normally?
still cognizant of everything that was going on. Still cognizant of everything. And so they wanted to go right into this last session where we're all on stage, and we're going to do one last thing before we shut her down for the night. So they're setting up stuff. They're doing the stuff. And the stage, I don't know if you remember this, Todd, the stage had a piano in the back.
I don't remember that, but okay, I believe you.
There was 100%. A piano sitting in the back of the stage, like on stage, but pushed to the back wall. And I sat down and just started playing a couple of notes. Just a couple of things, because I dabble in piano. I'm not good at it, but, I can make some chords and make it sound good. So I do a couple of things like that, and I grab a chair, and it's sitting near the middle back, kind of about where a drum riser would be.
Right, exactly. That's a good point. Yep. Where the drummer would be sitting. Correct.
Yeah, drum riser would be, because that's my natural place to go, because I'm a drummer. That's what I do.
And we're kind of it's almost like a circle, if I remember properly.
Almost, but it's in a way.
But we're all kind of facing, toward the middle a little bit,
or out or looking out. I'm looking out into the chairs, and I'm sitting in this chair, and we start in this investigation. I'm starting to feel, I'm still drained, because I came downstairs. I was like, man, I'm tired. It's like, all right, let's go. And I had a second where I was like, man, I shouldn't, but it's the end of the night. Let's just do it.
Yeah, it's that last, and you know this, Sandy, it's that last hurrah. Okay, folks, this is the last chance for us to get something for the production. Let's get up there. We got to get something, because we don't have anything. We don't have anything yet. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So that was a bad call on my part. I should have sat that one out. Anyway, I'm there anyway. I'm sitting in this chair, and we're doing this investigation. All of a sudden, I'm feeling like crap. I started having chest pains, and I'm just hurting. And all of a sudden, I wish we had the video for this, because it's so sudden. I shoot out of my chair, go behind the chair, and start pacing back and forth. Now I'm starting not to lose control.
Okay.
Once I come out of that chair and move around, I start losing control. And I'm starting to see red. And I'm getting more and more pain. I'm starting to get angry, which I don't get angry often or easily. And I'm still pacing back and forth. And the lead was doing most of the questions. And I start bending over, keeling over, like, if you clutch your chest and you're leaning forward, I'm hurting. I was like, man, there's something going on here. I vocalize this, and some notice and some keep going. And then all of a sudden I see red, completely red. I don't see anything anymore. And I pop up and I shout something, which again, I can't really.
Right.
It was, what the F do you want?
Right.
As loud as I could go. And then I keel back over. And then I say, I got to leave. And so I started beelining to the side of the stage. And I believe somebody asked if you wanted to bring a camera with. And I think I said no. Which, in hindsight, I wish I did, but I didn't have control. So I make a beeline off the stage. I going up the ramp, going to the back. I noticed the person that was there for the venue was there, and she saw me coming. And I yell, open the door. meaning I need to go outside. So she gets in front of me, opens the door. I don't break step. I just, she times it just right. She opens the door. I don't break step. I come outside and I sit down on the ground.
On the sidewalk, right out in front of the venue.
Yeah. In a busy downtown. And there's people looking at me. It's like, what's going on? And I know somebody came out from the crew. I don't know who it was. And I got up, turned around, and started walking down the street. Now, near this venue, there was a bridge with a river. I go up to the middle of the bridge. Again, not in control. Go up to the middle of the bridge. And I'm looking over the bridge into this river. And a voice in my head says, jump.
Yeah.
Jump. So I immediately turn around, like just 180 right on the bridge. So my back is up against the railing. And I take a couple of breaths because I'm starting to kind of hopefully get a little bit of control back. It's a little less because I'm out of the venue, but it's still there. It's still there. So I kind of collect myself a little bit and walk back into the venue. You guys are tearing down when I come back in, I believe.
Right. Yep.
And I start tearing down my stuff, and I'm still not feeling right. I'm out of it still, but I'm somewhat controlled, but somewhat not. And I come up to you and I say, man, I don't know what to do here. I don't want this to follow me home. And I believe, if I remember right, you said, go to the stage and do what you have to do. Were the words of wisdom from Todd. Mm-hmm. Go to the stage and do what you have to do. So I walk up back into the venue, walk down. I don't get on stage. I get in front of the stage. And I set the boundary of, you got me this time, but you're going to stay here. And I need to go. You're not going to follow me. You got me. We will part ways now, and you won't see me again. And so we finished packing up, and we're about to head out, and I'm heading through the door, and all of a sudden, everything lifts, and then I start talking a million miles an hour.
I remember that. Yeah. It was almost like I was like, is this guy on speed or something? Because it was really sudden. Like,
I got everything back. Everything I was thinking of started coming out. It was right as we went through the threshold of the door. Everything lifted, and I just started talking like a maniac. Started collecting myself again.
Right.
And we're walking down the street, and I'm thinking to myself, it's like, what the hell just happened? And I'm shook, obviously, because I could have gone into a river that night. And so I get into my car and I drive home that night, because the next day we're going on a family vacation.
Yes.
Up to the northern Wisconsin with my family. And usually after investigations, I would call my wife and say, hey, I'm on my way home. And she would ask, like, how did it go? And I'd say, yeah, it was great. We got this, and this. It was a lot of fun. That night I called her, and she asked how things went. And I said, I don't want to talk about it right now. And we'll talk about it tomorrow when we're on the road. Very just straight deadpan, just like I just said it to you. And she's like, okay. And, she knows me to know that if something like that happens, she's not going to push me to talk about it.
Right.
So we get on the road, and we're about, I would say 45 minutes out. My kids had fallen asleep, which I was waiting for so I can actually talk about this stuff, because the last thing I need is them to ask questions. They don't want to know that their dad had an issue. And I started talking to her about this. I think I had a partial possession last night. And I tell the story as I know it. And I took my laptop on vacation with me because that had all my audio. And, I'm starting to recollect myself. And A couple days into the vacation at night when the kids are going to sleep, I go back on the laptop and start listening through stuff. And that's
I'm going to pause you for a second because I want to talk about that. Okay. I want to back up and tell that same bit of the story from my perspective, because I watched this happen. So we're up on stage and we're doing our last hurrah. And for anybody who's wondering what happened to Sandy, I think she got a call from the pool boy and had to go out and take care of him. But I think her internet just quit on her for a second. She'll be back. So we're up on stage, and you're right. The investigation was going on, and it was going in an area that I'm never comfortable with. I don't like confrontational provoking.
Yes, it was starting to get provocative.
And it was show us now or come and see us. You know, it was one of those things where we were pounding our fists to get something to do, whatever it was going to do. I don't like investigating like that because I think that's where we lose the respect for what we're dealing with.
Correct. I'm on the same page.
And I think, and that's when you say you were sitting in the chair, you were like this in the chair. You were kind of like bent over with your head down. Mm-hmm. And I knew you were tired, so I didn't think much about it because we were all kind of, you're beat and whatever. And so I didn't think much of it. But when you shot up and started pacing, the first thing that came to mind is what's going on with this guy? And I remember you saying something's not right or something to that effect, like I'm feeling angry or something like that. And all I could focus on was what's going on with David. We need to kind of take hold of what's going on here. Figure this out because one of our team members is having some sort of experience that we need to know more about. Mm-hmm. But it really wasn't necessarily acknowledged all the way through. Mm-hmm. You leave. I remember following you outside and seeing you sit on the concrete. And I came in, I'm like, I don't know what's going on with him. I'm like I'm seriously worried about him. I didn't know that that you were feeling like it was possession or anything like that. I didn't know. To me, it was like, maybe he's having some kind of weird reaction with medication, or you just don't know. Or maybe he had an actual experience with the paranormal that is off the charts. So I do remember saying to you, you need to do what you need to do, like go to the stage and say what you need to say, and I remember myself after what happened to you walking out that night going, you're not coming home with me. Whatever's here is staying here. You are never allowed to come discuss anything with me ever again. You're being left behind. So I do remember that. So from my perspective, I didn't know what the hell was going on, but I knew that should have been our prime focus, not for the project we were working on, but as human beings, I was worried about you as a person, as far as what was going on with you. So,
and you checked in with me afterwards.
Absolutely. I remember. Yeah. I remember even, I think the day, like the next day, I'm like, are you okay? What's going on? Blah, blah, blah. And I know you kind of pulled back on communication, obviously for the reasons why they did. But I was like, what's going on? So now I want to hear what you actually found on the audio.
It's a lot of R-rated type stuff. I'll just put it that way. So it was a lot of F you, F this. Let's go back. All right. So the main focus of this conversation that we were just talking about was the do you want to die?
Yep. I remember that.
Told you to come back to that. So and that's about, I would say 2/3 to 3/4 of the way through the session. It was near the end. And so I'm listening through this and I hear the "Do you want to die," which is an disembodied voice on my digital recorder. It's not like we heard it on stage or anything like that.
Right.
I hear it a couple of times, and I hear something afterwards.
Okay.
And I'm, it's like, man, it sounds different. It's not the same device. It was actually the spirit box in tandem. So you hear the "Do you want to die," and then coming through the spirit box, clear as day, it says David. And I didn't catch it that night, obviously, because what I said, there's not, you're trying to just get stuff quick. It's so you could use it for the next session. And I sit there and I'm listening. I listened to it a couple times just to make sure I heard what I heard. And then it all makes sense. It's like, yeah, it didn't want me there. It didn't like me. It wanted me to die, which would make complete sense to me why I ended up on that bridge. So it's just, you know, it kind of blew my mind a bit. And I was like, man, this is a lot heavier than what I've ever dealt with before. Because I've been scratched before on an investigation.
I remember
you know,
that too. Yep.
Stuff.
Yep.
You know, I've had a couple of things on different investigations that are, you know, cold spots, cold chills and stuff like that. It's like, you know, it's little stuff. It's not a big deal. But when you have something as significant as that, and then you start tying back the evidence of why it happened.
Yeah, putting together that timeline of what was said, how it was said, and your experiences.
Yeah. So I'm listening to this, and I think I let my wife listen to it, and she was
obviously
out. And
you're lucky she even lets you leave the house at all now, you know. Well, after that.
Yeah, I know. It was something. But I kept reassuring her, I'm fine now, because it stayed. Because I felt it lift. Again, when we were leaving the venue, I felt it lift, and then I launched into this.
But are you ever really fine? And I want to take that question, and if you've got something else to go to, we can get to that too. But like, obviously, it's no longer with you, but the experience is with you, and
yes.
and that in itself, even if the energy is gone and all that is gone, that experience can shake the shit out of somebody's foundation.
Yeah, I mean, it shook me enough to where I have not investigated anything since.
Ugh. And I completely understand it. And for me, like on a very personal level, and being very, not thought worthy of anybody else, like that upsets me, because again, I felt like you were really good at it, because you and I kind of went at it in the same mindset.
Yeah.
And so it upsets me that you haven't, but in the same respect, I completely understand.
Yeah. Well, and because of where I was at mentally with my trauma work and everything like that, again, going back to this trauma work, I've worked through all of that now, and I'm a little bit stronger. I'm in a better headspace than I was then. I'm still very cautious about even doing that, though, for the safety of myself and the safety of my family, because there's that element too. It's like, I got 2 kids, and they're young, and I don't want anything happening to them either. And my daughter is very much an empath. And so
are you too? Take a moment to think about that, because I think sometimes, especially people who deal with, mental issues and stuff like that, sometimes you think it's just you, when there might be a little something else going on there too.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure there's a part of it that is that way. I know my wife is also empath. And I've been kind of doing some research. Well, not really research. I've been having some conversations with a bandmate of mine who's very much a spiritual healer type person. And he, we just had this conversation on Friday about, I'm trying to remember it all, but it related to being happy and instead of doing work and having to do certain things and not knowing what your happiness is.
Yeah.
And it all made sense to me this is what I've been dealing with the last couple of months of, going through this kind of stuff. And yeah, I mean, there's definitely a piece of empath in there. You always give yourself to others more than you give to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yep.
So, and that's always been how I've lived my life too. I give more than I get. And
dude always gives the shirt off his back. I mean, that's just who David is.
Yeah.
And I got to say this, because I know, Sandy, it was just connection, but how ironic that you leave during the possession story so that you don't have to hear me scold you about some of the stuff you do.
I'm sure I'll hear it down the road. I'll hear it down the road. I'm sure I will.
Here's the thing that, like, I appreciate the fact that you told that whole story. And again, what people have to understand is you didn't go into this investigation thinking you were going to leave that night having that experience because you thought, I'm just going to go in, we're going to investigate, something will bump, we'll get some audio. Maybe if we're really lucky, there'll be a shadow figure or something like that. I mean, that was the mentality. And you walked out of there with a life-changing experience.
That unfortunately has never been told until today.
Well, and I'm glad you told this story.
Yes.
And like you said before, and I was ready to talk about it.
Yeah.
And I've been ready to talk about it for a long time. I just never got the opportunity to do so because of reasons. And
again, I'm glad we told the story. But it for me, it was a life-changing experience too. And I'll explain why. Because, you know, you go through the whole thing of watching these TV shows and stuff like that. We all had a favorite back in the day, right? We like certain ones. Yep. Some of them were a little bit more like the way we typically investigated. Some were more like, hey, you come out and show yourself and you know, all that kind of stuff. And what happened to you completely changed my perspective on investigating. And I'm glad that I've been able to evolve due to certain events in my life. What happened to you, my mother passing away, an energy that followed itself with me and I had to deal with for a while. I'm glad those things happened because it has made me realize that when I investigate, if I investigate, there's a reason behind it. I'm not going because I want to see if something happens anymore.
Yeah.
I want it really to be about telling the story that needs to be told from that location. So it really is from the highest point of respect that I now go and do stuff like that when I do that stuff.
Right.
My interest in going and being scared and seeing something happen and hearing something happen is way less than it ever was before.
Yep.
Because of the experiences of my life and your experience is part of my life.
Yeah. And honestly, that's how this should go anyway.
Yeah.
You shouldn't have to sensationalize what you're doing here just because you're on camera.
Right. It's not a game.
It's not a game. I'd rather have a boring night where nothing happens, you know, and maybe get a piece, but then you also help somebody. Like I have friends that still do paranormal investigating. They do a lot more residential families type stuff.
Yep.
And to me, it's fascinating because one, you're going into somebody else's house and you're trying to help them, and they do, and it's amazing work. You know, it's a lot different than what you and I did, and it's amazing work that they can do that. And what we were doing, you know, it was different. It's just a different style, and I mean. Ups and downs, you know. Did I agree with everything we did? No. Did I appreciate what we did? Yeah. I think it was important knowing how this project was going to go and what we were trying to achieve. For the time that I was with it, it was interesting. It was frustrating, and it had ups and downs, like I said. But it was interesting and again, eye-opening, and I don't know, maybe I'll come back to it at some point. You know, it would be a very select group and a very select situation.
Yeah.
Well, if I were to do that again, I would have to be surrounded by people that I would legitimately trust with my life.
Yeah.
Because that's the only way this is going to work for me, because I have almost lost that.
Absolutely. And the thing is that energy that you're hanging out with, those people that you're investigating with, that's your lifeline while you're there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If they don't have your back, nobody's got your back.
Yeah. And it was that way with the group. It was, you know, everybody was on a different kind of playing field as far as energy levels, even.
Sure.
We had some high energy folks, you know, were just, you know, they were magnets for stuff. And then we had, you know, lower energy type people
that help
like
keep things,
keep things, leveled out, like you and I and a couple others. And so having that high energy person for me was, I think, a little bit more devastating to the whole situation. And it's just hard, it's hard because you don't know. We went into this completely blind as who was doing this anyway in energy levels, and we worked it out, and we became a family again. And I have all the respect in the world for everybody that I worked with. I think everybody brought something different to the table, and it was interesting, and I appreciate the time. But if I would do it again, I'd have to write the rules on it if I'm going to do it. I'm not guaranteeing that I will.
Well, if you ever do and you don't at least pick up the phone call and let me be a part of at least one investigation, I'll be ticked off at you.
Well, I know that. You're on that short list.
Okay,
Todd.
good. I'm just making
sure.
You're on that short list.
I can't pole dance, but damn it, I can.
There we go.
Right?
There we go.
Right.
I'd like to see that.
Yeah. Sorry to bring this down. It's not really a Sunday Funday when I'm.
It's okay. No.
Like
It is. It's very educational, and did you take any steps, especially not knowing it was your first real investigation of anything of that sort? Did you take any steps of protecting yourself beforehand? Did you have any knowledge of protection beforehand?
I did have knowledge of protection. Because this was a couple years ago. So we had been working together for 5-6 years at that point. Okay. So we had talked about different ways to protect yourself. Sure. And again, going back to what I was dealing with outside the paranormal world, where I was doing the trauma work and everything like that. Yeah, you would think about protections, but did you really protect yourself?
Yeah.
And it's hard to do that.
You can say, in my perspective, and I'm not focusing this on Sandy, but you can say all the prayers you want, you can carry all the stones you want and all that. But that can be your protection. But if you're open enough, nothing can protect you.
Right.
That's
100, right. 100% agree. And you have to go into it, I guess, sort of picking and choosing your battles and how you want to approach it. Everything is a learning experience. Some of it is a lot more fun learning than other parts of it, but it's all a learning experience. And again, you take a risk when you do any of this. It's not a game. It's a big deal. And one of my things is I am open. I am an empath, but I also have some other abilities. And one of the things that I look at it from my perspective is trying to help the energies and the spirits, because I think that not so much crossing over, but I think they have stories to tell. And I go into it with that thought process. It's not a game for me. It's very serious for me. When I travel to haunted cities, haunted places, I don't go on ghost hunts, general public ghost hunts, because those are thrill-seeking people. Those are people that don't perhaps know enough about it to understand. They haven't had those same experiences. So it's not a game. And I think protection and making smart choices do go hand in hand.
Yeah. Yep. And it definitely, the other thing is that because of my experience, and I talked about my experience after it happened, it became very controversial. So you have to be, that's another part of it, is you have to be willing to listen to and hear something like this experience. And when some people don't, it makes it hard to really explain it thoroughly as to what happened, because then they might go out and try to do the same thing and have a similar, if not worse, situation.
Yeah.
And so you have to mentally be prepared for anything in these situations. You have to be focused on what you're doing.
And
if you're not there,
listen to yourself. If you would have listened to yourself after you came down from the balcony and said, you know what, I probably shouldn't do this. If you would have walked away at that point, that may never have happened to you. Be really in tune with yourself. If you're, and again, we've talked about this on the podcast, when you're doing a TV show or a movie, or you're doing it because you got to have the evidence. Sometimes you don't use the personal experience as part of your experience, because you got to have the video, you got to have the audio, you got to have the lights lighting up, got to have all that. And what you're experiencing doesn't necessarily matter to the production. So listen very intently to what you're going through, because it's real. It's real to you, and it can affect the outcome of how that investigation goes for yourself. So,
and in the end, it's a TV show, but that's your life, and you really do have to learn about yourself. And as much as Todd teases me about the black mist, it taught me that I have to step back, don't just act, think first. Is this going to be good for me? Is this something I want to do? Because in the moment, you just want to be able to move forward. You don't stop and think about it, but you should. You have to, So.
Yes, very much so.
Oh, the phone's ringing.
Let me get that real quick. Just
okay.
Hello. Yeah. Oh yeah. She says she's learned her lesson about the black mist.
Every single
Listen,
time.
I can only tell her how important it is to never do that again. Okay. That was actually that was the black mist on the phone. It said, "Never walk through me again."
That's wonderful. Okay, thanks. Why do I love him? I don't know. Anyways,
David, thank you for being on with us and sharing this very. It's a dark story of your life. A part of your life.
Yeah, mental health. I'm a mental health advocate, and mental health is very important in all aspects of life. But if you're going to do something paranormal wise, have it together.
Strength. Yeah.
Make sure your strength is there. Make sure your focus is there. I've gone in and out of depressive states for majority of my adulthood. And it's important to recognize when that happens and to heal when you need to heal and work on it. Don't be afraid of it. Don't be afraid to talk about it either. And tell the people around you if you're having a situation, or if you're in a depressive state or an anxiety state, even make sure they know that. If you're doing a group investigation, definitely, but even in general life, tell the people around you what's going on.
Yeah.
Because again, a lot of this, Todd, you didn't know. And I kept it that way because I was not in a good state to begin with.
Dude, you should be an actor, because I had no freaking clue.
Right. Well, there's you can two-face a lot of things. But don't be afraid to talk to somebody about it.
Communication.
Yeah.
Yep.
And if these are the people that you're going to take those risks with and investigate with and be with, they should know, at least to some extent, how everyone is doing, because you're all there together. You're a group. You're one.
Yep.
All right, David, we're going to put you off in the green room for a couple of seconds. You stay there. Thank you so much for your story.
Thank you so much.
All right, stand by. We'll be back with you in a second. Wow. You got to sneak out for a little bit, didn't you? Were you off playing with the pool boy or what?
Well, no, I wish. Spectrum went down. My internet went down. Of all times, my internet went down. I couldn't believe it. So now I have to listen back to this this live so I can fill in the blanks.
Well, the good news is you have to put it together for our audio cast, so you get to listen to the whole thing again.
I do. And I can't thank David enough for coming on, because, again, it is a Sunday Funday, but I think it's an important story to tell, because a lot of people go into it thinking that, oh, it's exciting. And it is. It is exciting, Todd. When you get that evidence, when you interact, especially as someone like you or I who is open, and we can actually take that experience and move it to the next 2 levels if we want to. It is exciting, but it is a learning experience. It is risky, and you have to take your precautions. And you are 100% correct. You can protect yourself, but at the same time, you also have to protect yourself by making smart choices. And I think we all learn that at some point. Mine was the black mist. David's was not stopping when he started to not feel well. You've had your moments. We all go through it. I think they're necessary to some extent so that we can learn, but it's not a game, and it's not something to mess with.
Yeah, listen to yourself and know that the people that you are doing this with are the kind of people that you would, stake your life on, because sometimes it could come down to that. Okay, we got to wrap things up.
Yes.
Audiocast coming out later today. Yep. Twisted Tuesday, a good story about the gentleman down in Texas and his family feeling like they're having some problems. And then Woo Woo Wednesday with Sudie Crouch.
Check out our Facebook page at Sandy and Toddcast. Make sure you like it and follow it so that you can keep up to date on all the events that we have going on. Join our group, Stay Weirdos, the Friends of the Sandy and Toddcast. We have lots of fun there. And just thank you guys for your support.
Absolutely. Until next time, dear girl.
Have a great Sunday.
Have a great Sunday. Don't walk into any mists. Bye-bye.